Can I tell you a secret? I've seen every Disney princess movie before 1995. Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Pocahontas. I hate Pocahontas. Now, that has nothing to do with the historical figure. It has nothing to do with the character. It probably doesn't even have anything to do with the film itself. See, I grew up in a house with two older sisters, and that's why I saw all the Disney princess movies over and over. If you asked me if I knew every word to every song in every Disney princess movie, could I say yes? Probably. We'll find out later. Here's the thing about Pocahontas, in 1995 especially. We saw all these movies over and over, and every time our parents asked us what movie we wanted to watch, we'd take a vote. Because I had two older sisters and I was the only boy, we always had to watch Disney princess movies. I wanted to watch The Lion King mostly, but every time it was Sleeping Beauty, or Cinderella, or The Little Mermaid, or Pocahontas. When I was in kindergarten, we'd go to school, and sometimes at lunch, when it was raining outside, the teachers would bring us out into the hallway, and they'd roll these giant portable TVs, and they'd turn on a movie. And I remember one day in kindergarten, they turned on Pocahontas, and you can understand how angry I was, having seen all the Disney princess movies over and over and over. And Pocahontas is playing, and she's getting to her big song, Colors of the Wind, and I feel something stirring up in me, in anger, in injustice. Something had to be done about this. We should be playing dodgeball outside, or we should be watching a better movie, but instead we're watching Pocahontas. So she's singing Colors of the Wind, and I realized I have to do something. And so I closed my eyes, and I let out a scream. Ah! And of course, every teacher pokes their head out into the hallway, and I get sent to the principal's office, and my mom comes in, and I get in a lot of trouble. My mom asked me, "Why'd you scream during Pocahontas?" And I don't know how to explain to her all the feelings I was feeling about Pocahontas and Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, but that's how I felt. Instead of Pocahontas, if I could have watched any movie, something that I wouldn't scream through, but I would thoroughly enjoy, it'd be this movie we're talking about today. That's right, today we're going to infinity and beyond. We're talking about Toy Story. Hi, and welcome to Screen Sanctuary. I'm Steve Chu, your host, and we'll be talking about Toy Story today, the 1995 film from Disney and Pixar Studios, the first entirely computer animated feature film, and the first ever feature film from Pixar. All these years later, you've seen countless movies. I'm sure you have your favorites, but my first and my favorite will and always will be Toy Story. Directed by John Lasseter and written by Joss Whedon, Andrew Stanton, Joel Cohen, and Alex Sokolow. It was a big project and a big movie and a really formative one for me. And when I think about Toy Story, the premise is so simple and exciting. Imagine all the toys that you always believed would come to life actually came to life. Every time Andy turns around and leaves his room, the toys come to life. They have their own society, their own relationships, their own dynamics. It's so full of life, and it's so interesting and fascinating to see, especially from the eyes of a 5-year-old. I think for me as a 5-year-old especially, the theme that comes through is friendship. I imagine in kindergarten, as I was screaming in the hallways about Pocahontas, I was also learning to make friends for the first time. And it's something I think about even now, all these years later, what it's like to make friends, especially with people you don't instantly get along with or have differences with. In kindergarten, it was so easy. You sat next to somebody on the first day of school, you looked at him and you said, "Hey, you want to be friends?" And you were friends. But somewhere along the way, it gets harder and harder, and friendships disappear, people move away, things change. But those friendships we make, those relationships we create when we're young and innocent, they're so precious to us, which is why I think I'm so attached to this movie as it is today. Friendship is an important theme in Toy Story because we have these two characters who are polar opposites when they're presented to us. Woody, a cowboy from the Old West, Andy's favorite toy for a long time, who's basically like the mayor of this society of toys. And you have Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger, from the future, equipped with wings and a laser and everything. He's Andy's newest toy and his new favorite. And you can imagine why they don't like each other. Woody, who's used to running things a certain way, who's used to his place in society, who understands the way things should be, meeting Buzz, who's come from a different place and doesn't yet know that he's just a toy. And they butt heads, and people take sides, and things get pretty ugly. But they learn to trust each other, they learn that they need each other, and they ultimately become best friends. And you know it in the theme song of this movie. You've got a friend in me. Doesn't that just invoke the most wonderful feelings every time you hear it? And friendship's an important theme when it comes to the Bible too. When we think about how Jesus sees us, when he looks at us as a friend, as a brother, as a sister, when he looks at us with love, even though we're so different from him, even though we're so far from him, even though we've done so many things against him and sinned against him, he still loves us. In fact, he loves us so much, he says this, "Greater love has no one than this, that one would lay down his life for his friends." Even though we were opposite from Jesus, he loved us, and he loved us so much that he gave his life for us on the cross. He shows us an example of what true friendship is. Now, the stakes might not be as dramatic in Toy Story, but they sacrifice for one another, they risk for one another, they give themselves to one another in a way that exemplifies true friendship, a lesson that all of us can learn from. Another theme I think about when I think about Toy Story is fear of change. You see it in the opening scene of Toy Story. Andy's got a birthday party and they're also getting ready for a move. And the toys are so scared because what if they get replaced or what if they get lost? And they report on the new toys and they find some peace, but this is a thing that comes for all of us, this fear of change. It's one of the things I deal with most as a pastor in the churches that I minister to. People are used to things being a certain way of life, doing things. As a pastor, this is one of the things I see most in churches. People are so used to a certain way of life and a certain way of doing things that they're scared of any sign of change. Are you afraid of change? I know I am. I turned 35 this year and my back hurts more than ever. The toys especially are scared and they don't know what's going to happen, and this thing creeps up on them and it gets to them. But as Christians, we try to remind ourselves God is our strong rock and our firm foundation. Because he never changes, we can trust in him and the plans that he has for us. But I think the thing that resonates most in Toy Story is Buzz's struggle with coming to terms with his reality and his identity. See, for most of the movie, he believes that he is in fact Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger, that he's on this space mission to defeat the Emperor Zurg, and nothing will get in his way. Even though he's temporarily marooned on this planet, fixing up his spaceship with scotch tape, he believes that he's on this mission and this plan that he has to complete. He doesn't yet realize that he's just a toy. When he finally realizes this, it hits him like a rock. Everything is shaken, and nothing seems like it'll be the same. But Woody reminds him of this all-important truth. He tells them that just across the way, in Andy's room, there's somebody who is missing Buzz. He can't wait to play with him again because he's his favorite toy. And he reminds him that Andy loves him because he's Andy's toy. And he reminds him over and over, "You're a cool toy." Does this mean anything to us as Christians? So often we lose our way in life because we lose our reality and we lose our identity. We forget that we're beloved children of God. But when we're reminded of that truth, that God loves us because we're his, he made us and he formed us in his image. Not that we're toys or playthings, but we're his blessed creation. And he loves us for that very truth. And so we remind ourselves, and I remind you, you're a cool, beloved child of God. I hope the next time we get a chance to watch Toy Story, we think of these things and we're reminded of these themes, and we're reminded of the relationship that we have in God and the relationship that we have with each other, friends, beloved children of God. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and as always, see you at the movies.